Welcome to Reshair on ESPN 730. For the next hour, your host, Chris Reshaar, will bring fresh air to your financial needs. Excite, educate, and empower you to make sound financial decisions. Chris is a seasoned licensed mortgage consultant with Movement Mortgage, equal housing lender, originator license number 117266. Now, here's your host, Chris Reshaar.
Good morning. It's Sunday morning, time for your another dose of Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshaar. If you've never listened to our show, we're on every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, ESPN 730. And Reshair Radio is a unique show. It's not necessarily about sports, so don't be too disappointed. I know you're listening to the sports radio station, but you know what? You may be on your way home from church, on the way to church, or maybe on the way to the buffet after church. I don't know what. But Reshair Radio is really about helping our listeners make good financial decisions, really excite, empower, and educate Charlotte teens to make sound financial decisions. And now, I'm a licensed loan officer. You probably don't want to sit and listen to a mortgage loan officer for one whole hour. So don't turn the dial just yet. What we do on Reshair Radio is I bring in local experts, even show contributors that are back on a regular basis that come in and we talk about hot topics related to real estate, finance, insurance, financial planning, credit repair, you name it. So lots of different topics that affect your financial life. And hopefully our listeners, you that's maybe in your car at home, will gather some good information to kind of keep your finances on track and motivate you to do some of the things that you know you should do. And maybe that's getting out of paying rent and buying a home in 2017. Maybe it's just I need to get my credit worked on, whatever it might be. So that's the goal of Reshair Radio. Welcome to the show. Thank you for listening. Again, please stay tuned. We've got a lot of great stuff here today for you. So before I go too far, I want to kind of jump in and introduce some of our guests that are going to be on the show today. So first guest up, Debra Votta from Keller Williams, Union County. Debra, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Chris.
So excited to have you here. And Debra, we're going to jump in and talk a little bit about you and your scenario. You're a licensed realtor, I think both in North and South Carolina. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right, cool. And you obviously help people buy homes and you help people sell homes. It's pretty straightforward, right?
Yes, it is.
Now, there's a lot of work that goes into that, and we're going to we have a really fun topic we're going to be talking about a little bit later on in the show. Before we get into our topic, though, I want our listeners to kind of get a feel for who you are. So my first question I have for you is, how did you get started in real estate?
Funny thing, a friend of mine wanted to flip homes, and I said, well, if we're going to flip homes, someone's got to be a realtor in this deal.
That's right. And you sound like you're originally from the South. Is that right, Debra?
Oh, absolutely. Southern Waxhaw.
Southern
absolutely, yeah.
SW.
Yes.
And Shelley is our expert contributor. She's in the studio here, too, joining us. I didn't get to introduce her just yet. We'll get to her in a few minutes. But go ahead, Debra. Tell us how you got started in real estate.
So my first career is a social worker, and I felt
Cool.
like when my friend mentioned that, I said, you know, some of my social work skills might really spill into the realtor field. And so here I am utilizing those skills, trying to connect people with unconventional resources when helping them find a home. And that's really where it all started. And here I
Right. So
am.
instead of connecting a person to social resources, you're connecting a person to maybe real estate resources.
Real estate resources, maybe if they have an elderly parent that's moving in with them and they don't know the resources that are in the area for the elderly parent, or perhaps a child with special needs and they don't know what the resources are in that community. That's something I love to do and would love to connect people with.
Awesome. That's great. All right. So we kind of know how you got in the business. Tell us a little bit about what you enjoy about real estate most.
I love learning about what people need, trying to connect them with what they really are looking for, and not, it's not my agenda, it's their agenda. And that's real important to me, listening and learning what they want so that we can find what they're looking for.
You seem to have a real passion for kind of diving in and going full force into helping the customer. And I appreciate you sharing that. I can definitely see that in the studio, and I can feel that over the airwaves. Hopefully our listeners can too. So anything else that would be important for our listeners to know about you and your skill set as a realtor before we jump into our theme for today?
Sure. I'm just, I am all about my client, and I will always advocate for their best interests, making sure that what they're looking for will also be a place that is safe and meets their needs. So that's important too.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just going to do a little bit of a plug. I know that I work with a lot of very seasoned real estate agents, and you're probably on the less seasoned side, but you've got, what I've noticed about you, Debra, is that whenever you have a client that you bring to me, you're intimately involved in whatever their situation is. And I feel like you're like driving, you're holding on to the steering wheel with them, right? You're making sure that you're there for every turn, and you're highly involved, and you're just very invested in your clients. So if we do happen to have a listener that may be in the need or looking for a realtor to work with this coming year, spring season is hitting. There's a lot of buyers out there today, still very low inventory. But Debra's a great resource and realtor that, particularly if you've got buyers that want to work down in Union County, that's kind of down where you primarily focus your business. But I know you can cover Charlotte area, you can cover South Carolina as well. So definitely take my phone number down at 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. Again, that's Debra Votta with Keller Williams, Union County. So need an agent? We've got Debra rolling for you. So all right, so let's do this. Why don't we introduce our expert contributor, Shelley Walker. She's with Ballantyne Staging and Design. Shelley, welcome back.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
So glad to have you in the studio. You're such a great contributor. So I want to have our listeners, you've been on the show several times with us over the last few months, Shelley. So why don't you introduce your business and how you help the Charlotte community with the services that you provide?
Absolutely, Chris. So I'm an accredited staging professional, have been since 2007. We own two companies, one in Philadelphia, and now very blessed to have our company, Ballantyne Staging and Design, in Charlotte, North Carolina. And what do we do? What does that mean, an accredited staging professional? Really, we've been trained on the techniques to best prepare a home for sale. Right? The emotional journey. And I'm sure Debra can attest.
Oh, yes.
Social work does apply to real estate too.
It does.
Absolutely. Definitely applicable. I might need some extra coursework over there, Debra. No, I definitely can apply. But we take everyone through that emotional journey as well and try to remove that emotion and really help people transition with what is either the largest or the second largest investment in their life. And that's their home, their property.
Awesome. Well, I know that I've worked with a lot of realtors around the city of Charlotte and have for many years, and your reputation is absolutely amazing. And realtors have nothing bad to say about the services that you provide. And I just think you're a true pro. So if we've got listeners, again, we're trying to set the stage for some cool themes that we've got later. But when I bring these professionals on and have listeners that are out there, like I said, driving to the Sunday brunch buffet, if you're thinking about selling your home, Shelley is a great resource, whether it's you need full staging or you need her just to come in and do a consultation and help you with a few items just to make sure the home is totally prepared to sell for top dollar. She can kind of go from very low needs to all the way from to staging the entire home. So definitely keep Shelley in mind. My number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. And you just say, text me and I need Debra for a realtor, or text me and say I need Shelley if you need any staging services or design services of any kind. So Shelley, thank you for that intro. Again, we're going to kind of circle back with your theme a little bit later on, and we're going to jump maybe over back to Debra. And we spent some time, Debra, preparing for the show, and right now there seems to be a large number of first-time buyers in the marketplace. We know that there's a lot of millennials that still have yet to enter the buying market. In some cases, they're in their 30s, still haven't bought their first home. But we know that at some point, this population is going to eventually move out of mom and dad's house or move out of that apartment or condo they're renting in Uptown where, if you're talking to some of these buyers, I talk to them on occasion, some of these millennial buyers are paying $1,600 a month in rent for a 1 or 2 bedroom condo, and rents are going up every single year. And not just by $25. We're talking $100, $150, $200. That can convert to sometimes a $200,000 home.
That's true. Yep.
So there's a lot of these buyers out there today. So our conversation really that we themed today is really just a discussion on first-time buyers. And the three of us will have some thoughts for anybody that may be a first-time buyer out there. This is a great show to go back and listen to our podcast on ESPNCharlotte.net. You can always listen to our podcast on the pod centers. and or just listen to us while we're live. So, but anyway, let's kind of jump in, and as we're talking about how to be prepared, just conversation for first-time buyers. The first thing that you had said is really important in this process is choosing a trusted realtor. And why is it important that a first-time buyer choose a trusted realtor?
Well, you want to make sure the information that you're sharing is confidential and that they direct you in the right way.
Okay.
So what I tend to do is if someone comes to me and they're unsure where they sit in the market, I call Chris. Who else would you call? I call Chris and I say, Chris, I'm going to have someone call you to make sure that they're okay to, get moving in this market. It's I find that people aren't as knowledgeable as they should be.
Sure.
Not knowing where they sit. So.
Well, and if the first step is really just choosing a realtor, a trusted realtor, realtor's got market knowledge, right? Realtor has market knowledge. They understand what's going on in certain pockets of Charlotte, certain pockets of Union County, whatever it might be. Because believe it or not, Weddington may sell quicker than Waxhaw, right? Yeah. Myers Park may sell quicker than South Park. We don't know, but a trusted realtor is going to know the marketplace. One of the other things is that a lot of buyers don't understand that when you work with a trusted realtor, the commission cost is paid by the seller. Tell us how that works.
So everybody thinks we make all this money. Basically,
real estate can be lucrative, but believe it or not, it's actually realtors invest a lot of their own personal dollars to be successful, and they don't always make what you think.
That's right. So if a seller is paying out a percentage of their sale, let's use 6% as
which is pretty standard.
It's kind of standard. We never want to say that is because it does move a little bit, but that means that the seller agent is getting 3%, the buyer agent is getting 3%, and let's see, what does that mean? That's 1% that goes to federal government, and 1% that goes to state, and maybe 1% that goes to us. So, and we've
and then you maybe split money with the house because each real estate firm is going to take a cut of that commission as well. So, but I think what's really important here for the first time buyer to understand is that you as the buyer don't pay out of your pocket to hire a realtor. So I always tell people, if you were in a lawsuit and you needed to go to court and your attorney was free, why would you go to court without an attorney? Why would you go to court without an attorney, right? So I think the real key point there is, choosing a trusted realtor advisor to help you buy a home is that it doesn't cost you anything as a buyer. The selling side or selling party pays the buyer's agent's commission. So we actually have just run out of time for this particular segment. So please stay tuned. We've got so much to talk about. Again, this is a conversation with first-time buyers and how to be prepared. We only hit the first thing. We've got another 9 items to go through. So stay tuned. You're listening to Reshair Radio. We'll be right back.
When choosing an insurance agency, you want a company you can trust. We are an independent insurance agency that can protect your personal assets, including your home, your business assets, as well as health and insurance needs. A true one-stop solution provider. We do not work for an insurance company. We work for you. As an independent insurance agency, our duty is to our clients' best interests. It is our responsibility to provide you the best service and the best coverage at the best possible price. You will have the added benefit of working with agents who understand your needs. After visiting our website, we will schedule an exploratory appointment to discuss your specific needs. Please visit our website at www.movementinsurance.com. That's www.movementinsurance.com.
Sports fans know that the key to winning the big game is going in prepared. Right now, houses are selling fast. So if you're in the market for a new home purchase, don't just be prepared, be Movement Mortgage prepared. Charlotte's leading mortgage lender, Chris Reshair at Movement Mortgage will tee you up with a free, fully underwritten, upfront pre-approval. Shop for the home of your dreams, already backed by an upfront pre-approval at Movement Mortgage. Call Chris today at 704-277-4463 or find Chris at www.themortgagegenius.com. Go into the game prepared with Chris Reshair of Movement Mortgage.
Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshair, licensed loan officer with Movement Mortgage. And I want to make sure before we get back into our topic, I always have to tell at least one time during the show that I am a licensed loan officer. My license number is 117266, and that Movement Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Okay, got the compliance stuff out of the way. And if you weren't listening to the first segment, we are really having a conversation about first-time buyers and how to be prepared. Debra Votta from Keller Williams Union County is here in the studio as a special guest today. And we've kind of come up with some talking points. The first thing we mentioned as we were just wrapping up from the last break was a first-time buyer really needs to choose a trusted realtor. It doesn't cost them any money. They have market knowledge. But Debra, you said there were a couple of key little things that the buyer needs to pay attention to when they're trying to choose a realtor. What were some of those key elements?
Absolutely. You just want to have a connection. You really want to have a connection with your realtor. You want to be able to feel comfortable enough that you can talk to them like you're talking to a friend.
That's right.
And really be able to interact with them and make sure that they're working for you, because they are working for you. You're hiring them. So that's important for people to know. And the other thing is, knowing their availability. Are they a part-time realtor? And there are part-time realtors out there, and that's okay, but are they going to be available when you need them?
That's right.
And that's real important.
Those are good key elements, and particularly in a case when you're buying your first home, instead of saying, hey, honey, what are we doing this weekend? Are we going to the movies? Are we going to go out to eat? You're pretty much spending the weekend with your realtor, right? So if you don't have a connection with your realtor and you spend 2 full days in the car driving around town, it's not cool. You want to make sure you do have that connection, because you do spend a lot of time with your realtor. They will get to know you well, and you will get to know them extremely well.
Absolutely.
So, all right, cool. So let's go to the next element in terms of a talking point, and that is getting pre-qualified with a trusted loan officer. Any thoughts around that?
Hey, can you say Chris Reshair?
I don't know. Well, here's an interesting story. Earlier this week, somebody had posted out on Facebook some sort of little thing saying, hey, I'm looking for a Movement Mortgage loan officer. And somebody that knew me said, Chris Reshair was the first response. I was like, wow, this is so cool. I was the first one. And then it was like this long chain of like 80 replies. 80 replies. And it was like Brian Maddox. And it was a bunch of loan officers at Movement Mortgage that I work with. There's a lot of great trusted loan officers at Movement Mortgage. I was glad to make the list multiple times when somebody said, do you know anyone great at Movement Mortgage? But, choosing a trusted loan officer is important, because there are a lot of companies that sort of have that 1-800 number experience. You don't know if you're getting a licensed loan officer. You may be just getting somebody that just takes data over the phone, doesn't really know how to package a loan, doesn't really know a lot about programs, etc. So a trusted loan officer is going to really understand programs and really find the right fit for the client. And it takes 10 minutes over the phone to get pre-qualified, or maybe 10 or 15 minutes online.
And you know what, Chris? You know what I love about you in particular?
Bring it on.
Let me bring it on. Let me just tell you what I love
great.
about this guy. You are great at being able to walk someone through that. Maybe someone's credit's not where it needs to be, and you're able to show them, hey, you can get extra points by doing this, or you can just, you can write to, the creditors and say, hey, I want this off of my, off my credit. So I think that's a great,
it's about
great
helping
thing.
people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Regardless. So perfect. So this is good stuff for first-time buyers. They need to understand this. Okay, so let's roll to the next one. Yeah. Getting pre-approved. And I'm kind of answer this one because I feel like this is my box, okay?
Sure, yeah.
There's pre-qualification, which is, I use the analogy that she looks cute from the other side of the dance floor and it's a little bit dark in here, okay? A pre-qualification is we've run the credit and we've gotten everything verbally, but it doesn't mean that we have seen anything in writing yet. We haven't seen tax returns. We haven't seen pay stubs. We haven't actually seen the bank statements, and it doesn't line up with what we thought we got over the phone or on a web portal. So pre-qualification is that first step. Pre-approval is the second step. Movement Mortgage offers a free, fully underwritten pre-approval, which is very valuable in a multiple offer marketplace today. And it just basically means the client submits the documentation to our team. We send it directly to the underwriter. Again, it's free service to you, the buyer. And here's what it does. Number one, would you agree, Debra, that, and even you, Shelley, if there are multiple people trying to bid for the same house, would a fully underwritten pre-approval look better than someone pre-qualified from another company?
Absolutely. I sometimes don't even work with someone unless they have that pre-approval, because you know it's a done deal. Yeah.
In addition to that, It helps avoid surprises, right?
Absolutely.
I don't like, if it's my birthday, I'm okay with surprises. Other than that, surprises kind of really freak me out because I deal with enough of it in the mortgage business. Even when we try to prepare and be pre-approved, there's things that happen in the mortgage world. So, it's just really just a multiple bid differentiator, in my opinion. So if you're a first-time buyer, we're having a conversation around things to be prepared, and one of the things that you can do is get pre-approved, not just pre-qualified. So perfect. All right, Debra, I'm going to throw the next one to you, which is really understanding the differences between needs versus wants when they're trying to find the home.
Please understand. We can't always get your criteria, but we can get really close to it sometimes.
We want to be 10 minutes within uptown, and we want to stay below 150,000 with a fenced yard and a pool.
Always.
Right.
Everybody wants to save $1, and I can definitely relate to that. But at the same time, is the pool really important, or maybe having that extra bedroom is a little more important. So
for your child,
yes, for your child to sleep. Yeah, that might be good. But I mean, really, sometimes we try to meet your criteria as best we can, but we might have to look at other things and say, hey, is this really a need or is it a want? And let's weigh that out and let's see what we can do with what we have in front of us. We're trying to stay within your sales point, where you can buy, your buying point, really. So we want to make sure that we can get what you're looking for, but we might not always get everything.
Right.
So understand, please.
Yeah. And that's where, we're still growing. I think a lot of these young millennial first-time buyers are growing up on the HGTV drip. Okay.
Shelley.
It's like, this may come up a couple of different times today, folks, but I can't hardly go anywhere. It's like I got a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment, and like it's flip or flop up on. Then I go in an attorney's office for a closing, and it's some other flip show. But we see these homes that are perfect,
Absolutely.
Right? And then I think it sets the stage for our today's buyers going, I want everything just like it's picture perfect, brand new.
Absolutely.
And so it's a give and take. You need to understand, what do I have to have?
Right.
These are my musts, and then here's are my wants. And you're going to focus on what the musts are and try to get as many wants, but you're going to have to give and take.
Absolutely.
Perfect. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Reshair Radio, and we're having a conversation on first-time buyers and how to be prepared. Debra Votta from KW Union County is here as our realtor, guest. And let's kind of go to our next bullet here that we want to talk about, and that is really understanding that there are upfront expenses. So if you're going to spend $100,000 or $150,000 or even $200,000 to buy your first home, guess what, folks? You're going to have to lay out some money up front in this process when you go to buy a home. So first of all, Debra, tell us about earnest money in due diligence. Briefly, what is it, and then why are they writing checks for this kind of stuff?
So due diligence is the opportunity for a seller to kind of take their house off the market, in essence. You're saying, hey, I'm interested in your home. Can you please not let anybody look at it, because I want to get the inspections. I want to do all these wonderful things to make sure that loan approval, to make sure that I can get this house. So I'm going to give you some money. Take that off the market for me for a little while, won't you?
Okay,
so
and
that's
that
really
money,
what that is.
So the first check the buyer writes is for due diligence.
Right.
It can range anywhere from $250, $500, even higher if you're buying a much more expensive home.
Sure.
But first-time buyer range is common to be in that range.
Right.
And so the buyer is just writing that check, and the seller just keeps it,
right,
no matter what.
That's right, no matter what.
So if you walk away, that money is gone.
That's it. Yep.
If you buy the home, it's credited
right.
off of whatever you owe.
And as a buyer agent, I want to make sure that that's the lowest amount if I can, because if you have to walk away, we're going to try to lose the least amount of money.
Perfect. The earnest money deposit is an additional check that the buyer also writes, typically held by the attorney, maybe the real estate firm, one of the two. That money is set aside. The check is cashed right away. However, if you decide not to buy the house, am I correct, then...
It is
if
refundable.
During a certain point. How's that work?
So how that works is, you want to make sure that your due diligence period has not yet been over.
Expired,
so,
okay.
Yeah, you have to do that before your due diligence period.
And typically like maybe 3 weeks you have to kind of do your research, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And sometimes, you can extend that, but we really try to work within that time frame. And that's when you can get your earnest money back if, in fact, you found out you can't get approved for your loan, or, that inspection came back with that that long laundry list of
That's
things.
right. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Absolutely. So,
Then you've also got to shell out money for potentially for home inspection. Some people invoice it the day that they buy the home. Some people pay for it up front. Home inspection typically costs around how much?
oh gosh, it could cost $500. It could
Yeah,
cost,
around $400 or $500, depending on how many bells and whistles you
Absolutely.
want, right?
Yeah.
And then when you go to get a mortgage loan, because we don't have many first-time buyers that pay cash, okay? And I don't like those buyers, by the way, anyway. But
Job security.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
I want them to get a loan. But regardless, they're going to also have to pay anywhere from $475 to $500 for a home appraisal. That's typically done on a debit or credit card, and that's also paid up front. We have to pay the appraiser to go out there to make sure the home is worth $150,000
Sure.
that the buyer is contracted on. Before they spend that kind of money, they want to know, is it going to, does the value match what you're paying?
Yeah.
So I mean, right there, just if you added all those numbers up, you're talking $1,000, $1,500, sometimes more, that a first-time buyer needs to be prepared to either write checks or pull your debit or credit card out in the process of buying home before you actually sign the paperwork to buy that home. So good conversation. These are little things that buyers don't always understand. And if they know it, it's a little bit easier to jump into the buying marketplace, right? Our job is to make it easy for our listeners here. So.
And it's a competitive marketplace right now, in
It
particular,
is.
right, Chris and Debra, because it really is a seller's market. And if it's a first-time home buyer, let's say $200,000, $300,000 house, there's going to be competition.
That's right.
So all these steps are really important for them to have a competitive edge against potentially other offers.
Absolutely. Great point. So, well, what we're going to do is I'm just going to say here, we got to take a quick break. But if you have heard anything that interests you and you're looking for a realtor or a loan professional like myself, all you need to do is shoot me a quick text message at 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. You can also find me at themortgagegenius.com. That's 3 words, themortgagegenius.com. Regardless, we got to take a quick break. We've got a lot more to talk about, so please stay tuned to Reshair Radio. We'll be right back. Hey, Chris Reshatar here from Reshair Radio with Movement Mortgage. Are you still sitting on a high interest rate mortgage loan? Are you thinking about consolidating, paying off some of those credit card debts, or maybe doing some home improvement? Now's the time to call because interest rates are still at a 40-year low. My number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. I can also be found at themortgagegenius.com. Movement Mortgage is an equal housing lender and MLS license number 117266.
Did you know it has been reported that an estimated 80% of Americans have credit inaccuracies on their credit reports? Most people that have either inaccuracies or existing items that can be negotiated or adjusted do not know what their best score could be until they have found a new home or buying a new car or applying for a credit card. Then it's too late and they have to accept a higher interest rate or lose the opportunity altogether. The time to work on improving your credit score is before you need it. Whether you have a 440, 640, or even a 740 FICO score, there is always room for improvement. The National Credit Care Team is comprised of individuals dedicated to helping the millions of consumers plagued by credit inaccuracies, errors, and fraud. It is our mission to help inform consumers and alleviate the stress of working with creditors and credit bureaus. Together, we can maximize your scores to get the best interest rates possible and save you money. Call now, 303-747-6390. That's 303-747-6390. Or visit us at www.nationalcreditcare.com.
Welcome back to Reshair Radio. If you're just tuning into our show this afternoon or this morning, I don't know what time it is. It's an afternoon somewhere in the world, I guess. It is 10:30 here this morning, but nonetheless, we are having a conversation about first-time buyers and how to be prepared. Debra Votta from Keller Williams Union County is in the studio here as our special guest, and we were just kind of going through one of the components that I want to bring up so that we make sure we get to all of our bullets here is being careful with your credit. And what have you heard from customers when you say, well, yes, the mortgage lender is going to look at your credit? What do they say?
Oh my gosh, I don't know what my credit is.
Or I don't want them to look at my
credit.
credit.
They're going to ding my credit.
Oh, they're going to ding my credit. Right.
You know?
So let's just start out with that. If the lender can't look at your credit, then the lender can't give you money.
That's right.
Pretty simple, right? And it's really important for people to protect their credit. so that there's not things happening to it and people aren't dinging it too much. But when you go to buy a home, that's actually when you want it to be checked, especially if you're preparing and thinking ahead like our listeners are, right? Our listeners are preparing, going, I want to buy a house this year. I need to have my credit checked soon to make sure it looks good, right? So you got to be careful with your credit. You also have to make sure that you avoid borrowing money. Okay, there's little things like, advancing money from a credit card, not going to work for a mortgage loan. Borrowing money from a friend and then a mystery deposit showing up. People also have to be careful with gift documents. These are little tips, but when you're talking about money and credit, the lender's going to want to see where your down payment money is coming from and where your closing cost money are coming from. A gift is allowed, but a gift is a gift. It's not borrowed money that you're paying back. That is not a gift.
Right. Right.
And of course, try not to open new accounts. We don't want you to have a car loan pop up. I had one just this last week. Car loan popped up right before final approval, and it affected this gentleman's approval status. We figured it out. Okay, that's the surprises. Earlier I said there's always surprises in this business. But those are just common sense things, but our listener does need to be careful with kind of how they play with their money and their credit.
Sure.
All right, let's take the next number, which is really on here, is don't be afraid to have your credit actually looked at. Okay. And this is, I know I kind of hit this just a moment ago, but a lot of people think when their credit is checked that it's going to hurt their credit. So the first thing I want to say is checking your credit is not hurting your credit. Checking your credit is actually finding out what it is.
Right.
It can't hurt it if you haven't looked at it, right? It can hurt. What the listener needs to understand is that all buyers, whether they shop with or talk with me at Movement Mortgage and a couple of other banks or mortgage lenders, they have 14 days to shop around different mortgage lending institutions with no impact to their credit score. That's pretty cool. Most people don't know they've got 2 full weeks.
Right.
So they may have talked with a local bank, a community bank, or credit union, and a mortgage company, and then someone says, hey, Chris Reshatar, my loan officer buddy is going to give you a call. A lot of times they'll shut down and say, nope, I don't want you to look at my credit because someone just looked yesterday. Right. Ironically, I say, that's exactly why you want me to look now, because you just looked yesterday. Someone else just looked yesterday. You want me to look when someone else did it recently. If it's been a few weeks, that's when the inquiries can hit their credit report and hurt their credit score. So that was really important. The other important component, and you kind of mentioned it earlier, was, oh my gosh, I don't know that I want to look at my credit. Right? Do you have those people?
I mean, especially, people are not educated about it. And I think that people think, oh, I can't buy a home because I don't have good credit. And that's not always the case.
Yep. I've had people over the years, and not as many as you think, but I've had people over the years go, I just don't think I can do it. My credit's ruined. I'm like, well, you came in at a 7-1, you're pre-qualified, go shopping. And they're like, what? But my ex-husband from 25 years ago dinged my credit up. It's like, well, that was 25 years ago, right? You've been perfect since. So, but yet there are a lot of people that know they don't have good credit, which is why they have that, put the brakes on. I don't want anyone to look. I don't want to talk to your mortgage guy.
Well, it's scary, Chris.
It is.
It's scary.
It is.
But to know that you can mend it and to know that you can get certain points by just simply knowing what your credit score is and knowing what you have to do to get those points up. And that doesn't have to take 5 years. You don't have to be on a 5-year plan, right?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah.
And, it just takes a little courage.
Absolutely.
And that courage, we're trying to empower our listeners right now at the beginning of 2017 to say, let's take a look now. You may not be ready to buy now, 6 months or even 12 months from now. But if you don't do something different, you're not going to get a different result.
That's right.
So you're going to continue to pay rent for those people that may not have perfect credit, that are just having a hard time taking a look at the credit and really facing it. So you can do it, folks. Our listeners, they can do it, right?
Yeah,
we're encouraging you to give me a call. It's actually free to run a credit report. So it didn't cost you anything, but it does give you knowledge and power. So my number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. You can text me and say, I'm ready to have my credit checked for free. I need a free credit report, Chris. So, all right, we've got a couple of more components we want to talk about here in terms of the conversation we're having with first-time buyers and how to be prepared. Home inspection, can you hack it? So, I'm not, well, I have to say, I am a licensed realtor. I'm not an active realtor, okay? I'm not active with the commission, but I have my license. But Debra, this is an area where people go under contract. We start the loan process and you send a home inspector out there.
Yeah.
Tell us what happens when a first-time buyer sees a home inspection report, typically.
Oh, my gosh. We have to pull them up off the floor, Chris.
They're freaking out. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
They're freaking out. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. And tell us why, though.
That's that inspector's job. His job is to find what's wrong with that house. There's always going to be something wrong. It could be, something as simple as, a little hole in the vinyl siding. And that's not the end of the world, and that's something that is a quick fix.
Caulk.
Hey, caulk. I caulk, caulk
Wait, duct tape.
yes.
Maybe not duct tape. I don't know.
Hey, Chris, our first home, I remember, we got the home inspection report back. It was literally over 8 pages.
Wow.
And I went into sheer panic mode, again, longer than Santa's list. And I said to my husband, this is not our home. This isn't it. But truth be told, as we started to go through that list, and I will say our professional realtor, like Debra, walked us through it, talked us off the ledge, so to speak, and we loved the home. Absolutely loved it. So it's not unusual, right? What can you expect, Debra? What's an average home inspection report?
Probably about that
list?
8 pages.
About 8 pages.
I don't know.
For our other homes, anything under 8, we were like, woo, clear sailing. Good to
Right.
go.
That's a great house.
Move in now.
Exactly.
Well, what a great topic to bring up to a first-time buyer, just because you need to expect that there will be a lot of things showing up. But a lot of times when you look at the summary report, a lot of it can be very minor stuff, easy fixes. It's not going to be the HGTV home. And even those homes, if they were inspected, would have an 8-page report too. It's
And
just the
remember
way
what
it
some
is.
of those houses looked like before they actually did the work. All right, let's remember that too.
That's right. Yeah, those would have been 80-page
That's
reports.
right. Exactly.
before home inspection.
Right.
So, all right, perfect. Well, I just wanted to make sure that we hit that element, because I just see even my first time buyers go, well, we got the home inspection report. We're not sure if we want to buy the house. It's like, well, that's normal. So let's talk about appraisals. So an appraisal is when the mortgage lender will send out, like remember I said, it's about $400 or $500, send somebody out on your behalf to make sure the home is worth the $150,000 that you contracted on. They're going to compare it to other homes, like kind, close, same neighborhood if possible. And that's what an appraisal is. And the lender is going to do the loan based on the value of the home, not the contract price. In our marketplace, because there are a lot of buyers, not a lot of sellers, in many cases, people are bidding above and contracting above what the list price is, what the seller is originally selling it for. So it's not uncommon in this kind of marketplace, what we call a seller's market, where appraisals don't always come in at the sales price, because people are scrambling just to get the house and they're willing to stretch and pay more, even if it's out of their pocket potentially. So sometimes appraisals can come back and they don't always hit value. It doesn't mean the deal is dead.
That's right.
Right.
And that's when you know if your realtor is working for you, because your realtor is going to step in and hopefully negotiate that out with the seller. And that's really important, because sometimes the seller will come down on price if that's what they need to do.
That's right.
And that's a great
There's
way to,
a lot of,
there's a lot of different ways to get that loan approval, and, having a realtor on your side to help you through that process instead of watching the sweat beads come off your head is a really great way to start it out. So
I always tell people, say, well, what do we do now? I said, well, you've got about 4 or 5 options to consider. And I actually have an email signature or template that I send that says you can pay the asking price and bring the difference. You can renegotiate down to the appraised value. You can meet in the middle, or we can even dispute the appraisal and see if there were comparable sales that may have gotten missed that would support that value, because the real estate agents on both sides sometimes know about sales that an appraiser may have missed.
That's
right. So there's lots of ways to deal with it.
Absolutely.
All right. And our final sort of, option here in our conversation with first-time buyers and how to be prepared is just keep in mind that it is a team effort. Team effort basically means that your realtor, whether that's Debra or you have a different realtor, or loan officer, whether it's me or another loan officer, it's a team effort. You've got to be patient in the process. If you're unsure about something going on with your loan, something going on with the home inspection, you need to ask. We don't always know that you're nervous about something. We don't always know that you have a question about something. Don't be afraid to ask, but be patient in the process. There will be several components of the process that looks like they're going sideways, but it doesn't mean you're going to go off the freeway bridge, right?
That's right. That's right.
That's why they have those little bumps on the
That's
side
right,
of the
that's
right? We are your bump. Okay, we're gonna keep you in the yellow painted lines. So, and these are just things that we wanted to make sure a first-time buyer just got a good taste of these things. So hopefully our first-time buyers that have been listening have been staying tuned for this message, because I think it's just a really simple but very powerful, important message. So. We've got to take a quick break. We're going to be coming back, and we're going to be talking with Shelley Walker from Ballantyne Staging and Design, and we've got some great stuff to talk about there. We're actually going to hit 4 key mistakes to avoid over decluttering your home, and that is obviously
there is such a thing.
There
Chris.
is such a thing.
We'll
So we've got a lot more to
about
talk about. We're going to take a quick break. Again, you're listening to Reshair Radio, and we'll be right back. This is Chris Reshatar, your host of Reshair Radio. As a mortgage professional, we interact with several industry-related professionals, and we see the good, the bad, and the ugly. When I have a choice to select a closing attorney either to purchase or do a refinance, I choose John Ringer with Hutchins Law Firm. He is a legal professional, and he covers commercial and residential transactions. More than just a closing attorney, John wants to be your attorney for life. He can provide you insights you need to make accurate and informed legal decisions. As a Charlotte native, John has witnessed the tremendous growth and development of our city and region. As a part of Hutchins Law Firm with more than a quarter century of experience and 400 years of collective combined legal experience, they have what you're looking for. They have offices in Charlotte, Fayetteville, Wilmington, and Columbia, South Carolina. Please give John a call if you need an attorney, the right attorney, at 980-275-9810. That's 980-275-9810.
Sports fans know that the key to winning the big game is going in prepared. Right now, houses are selling fast. So if you're in the market for a new home purchase, don't just be prepared, be Movement Mortgage prepared. Charlotte's leading mortgage lender, Chris Reshatar at Movement Mortgage, will tee you up with a free, fully underwritten, upfront pre-approval. Shop for the home of your dreams, already backed by an upfront pre-approval at Movement Mortgage. Call Chris today at 704-277-4463 or find Chris at www.themortgagegenius.com. Go into the game prepared with Chris Reshatar of Movement Mortgage.
Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I am your show host, Chris Reshatar with Movement Mortgage. I'm a licensed loan officer at Movement, and many people have heard of Movement Mortgage. We are Charlotte's #1 lender in town. It's a pretty awesome company to work with. But Reshair Radio really is a show about empowering and exciting and educating Charlotte teens to make great, sound financial decisions. And we just wrapped up a conversation with first-time buyers, things that buyers need to know. If you weren't able to listen to that and you are a first-time buyer, you can go to espncharlotte.net and go to the Pod Center and re-listen to the show later on. And I can also forward it to you. You can find it on my Facebook page. But regardless, we're going to bring Shelley Walker back from Ballantyne Staging and Design. She has some great topics that we're going to be talking about. But Shelley, before we jump into maybe the 4 key mistakes to avoid when decluttering your home, that's obviously prepping the home to be sold, why don't you set the stage for the marketplace and what sellers need to kind of consider? Because now we're shifting gears from buyers to sellers. We're rolling into the spring market. What are some of the stats you can share with us as people are thinking about selling their home?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Spring market is here. It doesn't feel like it when it was 20 degrees earlier in this week. But
well, it goes from like
you,
20 and then to 70 and then back to 20 for a couple of days and back to 70.
Love Charlotte, but sunny all the time, all the time. So spring market is definitely our busiest time. I'm not kidding. We started to get barraged with phone calls and emails literally January 1st. And all the conversations from our realtor colleagues started with, I have a listing that's coming up, coming soon, and coming soon to a neighborhood near you. And so they're very excited to get that home on the market. So Q1 of all 4 quarters of the year is actually our busiest time for professional home staging throughout the year.
I would imagine so. And you had some statistics about the homes that sell for the highest dollar. I thought that was fascinating.
They do, and it actually surprised me when I read it recently, but April followed very closely by the month of May are the 2 highest months in national statistics for getting the highest sales price of your home. And I don't know about you guys, I was a little surprised by that because I really thought it would be more a summer month.
Yeah.
But I think because the inventory is a little bit lower and people are going to get a jump on the market, it has been shown that those are the months. So if you're going to list in and have that property sold by April or May to get that top dollar, you need to be preparing it today.
Perfect. So what are some of the steps? I know you had, said that there are some steps that people need to sort of follow to prep into getting that home ready.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. You mentioned earlier it takes a team. I like to say it takes a village.
Yes, I say that a lot too.
It takes a village, right?
That's not a political comment, by
not
the way.
at all. It means lots of great people coming together for a common good, right?
Yep.
So you have the realtor analysis. You have a competitive analysis that needs to take place. And Debra was touching on this earlier, depending where you're selling your home and how many homes are already for sale or will be listing in the near future. What's the price going for in that area? What repairs need to be done to your home? Does it need a once over on color consultation? Definitely, if you've lived there more than a year, decluttering, depersonalizing that space, and then opening it up for professional home staging. So a lot of steps. It can be overwhelming to people, but we're going to try to pare it down and make it a simple process.
Well, and isn't that the key element as to why we're talking about this now?
Absolutely.
Because we're really trying to get our listeners off the fence now, because it's a lot easier to start doing this stuff now before the contractors are overwhelmed with business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And while things are a little slower in the real estate market, be prepared, because if you wait until April, it's going to take another 30 to 60 days to do the things you really need to do. And then you may have missed that hot winter. You were just talking about getting the top dollar during that April and May season.
Absolutely. It definitely takes time. On average, it takes a good month really to prepare your home for sale, doing all the different things that we talked about. So
And your realtor oftentimes knows of a home stager that can, they can bring in and assist
They don't need
you
to
with
know
that
of a home
process.
stager. They
We
just
got
need to know Shelley.
That's right. That's right. And we do bring Shelley in, and she's wonderful to work with. But you don't have to just depend on your own knowledge, but your realtor can also guide you in that process to ensure that your house is going to sell in a timely manner.
Perfect.
Absolutely, Debra. I appreciate that. And as you were saying, it is really a group of professionals all the way through, from the realtor to the loan officer, you name it. That makes all the difference in the world, and really a seamless process for the buyer and the seller.
Yep.
That's right.
All right. So let's get to the meat of your topic here, because this is just interesting and maybe set the stage for why we're talking about this. But you said that we actually need to kind of pay attention to not over decluttering. So help, because we are on a sports station, help some of these guys out there that may be listening to even know what all this is.
Absolutely. So usually I wanted to mix it up a little bit today, Chris, this morning. So usually we talk about, okay, these are the 4 things you need to do. Today we want to talk about the things you don't want to do, because they're just as important. So there has been a trend recently of over decluttering. Cue the lightning
really
bolt
scary.
music, right? But truly, there is such a thing. And recently, I've seen either pictures online or I've actually visited homes where, again, the drip of HGTV, they get the ideas of, I've heard someone say we need to depersonalize, we need to declutter, and they take it to the nth degree, meaning that they take everything out of the home, paint everything beige or gray. Gray's the trend, right? And you walk in and you feel like you've walked into the 4th ward of the hospital, and you're grabbing your coat because it's chilly in there. It is chilly in there.
No warmth, right?
No warmth at all. No warmth. And that is not staging, and that is not the best way to prepare your home. So you really, truly can over declutter. And so many times when I work with clients that are living in the home, it's not a vacant property, but it's occupied, we can use a lot of the furnishings and beautiful accessories that they may have. We just have to pare it down some, but that will give it the warmth you spoke of without the hospital feel.
Sure.
All right. So you kind of have to start, like you said, start with a plan. Is that right?
Absolutely. Think of goal setting. It's no different than at your job, right? You have to write down your plan. You have to build milestones, and you have to have a time frame for each one of those milestones. And then we can call in a professional such as Ballantyne Staging and Design.
Where could we find that? Where could we find Shelley? Shelley, why don't you give them your number here, by the way, while you're live here in the studio?
Absolutely, Chris. Thanks for asking. It's 704-930-9639. That's 704-930-9639, or Shelley at ballantyneStaging.com. We'd love to help you.
And you also work outside of Ballantyne. That's important for people to know.
We do. We proudly serve the Carolinas, North
Awesome.
and South Carolina.
Great. So step number one is obviously don't start without a plan. Like you said, got to write it down, seek professional help, etc. So number two, you say avoid emotion with an exclamation mark. What does that mean?
Absolutely. So we are now collectively as a team, home seller and our team, turning your home into a product. Think of it as a commodity. It's got to be
Perfect.
very depersonalized to do that, but that can be very emotional. Why? I just heard the other day say, but Shelley, that's the staircase that my daughter came down in her prom dress. And so they have the wall of family pictures that go up with
Christmas morning stairs.
Big Christmas morning stairs. Or this is where my son took his first steps, and it's just overwrought with children's toys and items so that people can't walk through. The best compliment for us is when someone says, it does not feel like my home anymore.
There you go.
That's right. That's great.
You've done a good job at that
We've
point.
made the transition.
Yeah.
So now we know that we're ready to get that home on the market.
That's right.
Perfect. Number three, don't procrastinate. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So we talked about a written plan, and that's really important because it can be overwhelming. Sometimes when I get a consultation completed, I get the deer in headlights look, like, oh my goodness, I had no idea I had this much work to do. So, but stay calm. We're here to help. And not only that, we'll help you prioritize. So there's always a list of, top 10 things amongst maybe 50 that we can do that will have the most impact for the least amount of money. So don't be overwhelmed. Don't tackle too much at once. Let's prioritize.
Perfect. And I know that if you have folks that are maybe even feeling overwhelmed in this process, you even have other professionals that can come in and help.
We do.
Like Leanne from Captain Clutter. Or no, wait, is it?
The
Clutter
consultant.
That's right. Clutter consultant. I
Leanne's
apologize.
going to get you later, Chris.
Hey, I'm trying to give her kudos. I was trying to remember the name.
No, it's all good. We do. We have a wonderful group of resources, and these are all vendors and partners that I've worked with in the past that I can highly recommend that will help us throughout the process. So really important, ask those questions. And if we can't do it at our company, we will definitely know of or find someone that can help to build that process. And just before we leave this, I want to give you another good example. As we're going through, we talk about prioritization. We have an individual homeowner recently that had spent a lot of money in their backyard. So I always ask homeowners, where did you put your money in your house? Because we want to highlight that when we're staging and in this case, decluttering.
That's cool.
You could not see walking through that front door, the sight line to that backyard.
Wow.
So just in some simple, removing draperies and opening windows and clearing furniture from the walkway, the path to get to that backyard makes a huge impact because we know, I've shared this before, within 7 seconds, someone has an impression about that home. 7 seconds from entering the property.
Wow.
And that's either good, bad, or ugly. So
That's
we
right.
want it to
Good.
be stellar.
Hopefully great if they're
Yeah.
using
Great.
Ballantyne staging and design. But
Absolutely.
all right. And then the last thing, I mean, we kind of hit the topic a little bit, but obviously don't over declutter. That's your last sort of parting words. Just don't do it.
No, don't do it. And we'll help you make sure that you didn't. And, it is amazing. Some warm color and warm accessories and pops of color. Again, great impact, not a lot of money. It'll make your pictures jump off the shelves.
Awesome. So, Shelley, thank you for coming back again this month for Reshair Radio, and Debra from Keller Williams, Debra Votta, thank you for being a guest on our show this morning.
Thank you.
Again, I know in Debra's case, she is willing to offer a $500 buyer closing cost credit for anybody that is using her services to list or buy a home, I guess really, over $150,000. And Shelley, do you have any particular offers that you'd like to share with our listener briefly?
Absolutely. Free quote for any staging that you're looking for us to do, and that's for the realtors and or the homeowners, as well as the first 3 callers will get a free walk and talk consultation.
Awesome. So my number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. If you need any services from our experts here in the studio today, please let me know. Again, I am Chris Reshatar, licensed loan officer, your host of Reshair Radio. Hopefully you have learned some good stuff this week by listening to our show. Again, we'll be back next Sunday at 10 o'clock on ESPN. Signing off from Reshair Radio. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
you.
Chris.
Thank you.
Hey, Chris Reshatar here from Reshair Radio with Movement Mortgage. Are you still sitting on a high interest rate mortgage loan? Are you thinking about consolidating, paying off some of those credit card debts, or maybe doing some home improvement? Now's the time to call because interest rates are still at a 40-year low. My number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. I can also be found at themortgagegenius.com. Movement Mortgage is an equal housing lender and MLS license number 117266.
Did you know it has been reported that an estimated 80% of Americans have credit inaccuracies on their credit reports? Most people that have either inaccuracies or existing items that can be negotiated or adjusted do not know what their best score could be until they have found a new home, or buying a new car, or applying for a credit card. Then it's too late, and they have to accept a higher interest rate or lose the opportunity altogether. The time to work on improving your credit score is before you need it. Whether you have a 440, 640, or even a 740 FICO score, there is always room for improvement. The National Credit Care Team is comprised of individuals dedicated to helping the millions of consumers plagued by credit inaccuracies, errors, and fraud. It is our mission to help inform consumers and alleviate the stress of working with creditors and credit bureaus. Together, we can maximize your scores to get the best interest rates possible and save you money. Call now, 303-747-6390. That's 303-747-6390. Or visit us at www.nationalcreditcare.com. You've been listening to Reshair with Chris Reshatar, a seasoned licensed mortgage consultant with Movement Mortgage, equal housing lender. Originator license number 117266. Learn more online at themortgagegenius.com.